Ladies
and gentlemen, our event will get started very shortly. And you can see the QR code on the screen. By scanning it, you can enjoy our simultaneous interpreting service. I believe it can provide you a more smooth communication during the process. Ladies and gentlemen,
good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
女士们、先生们，大家早上好。
我是今天早上咱们这场论坛的主持人
I'm today's anchorman. My name is Yang Rui.
央视的国际对话主持人。联合国呢，2030年可持续发展议程提出的
Sustainable Development 2030 of
第14款是保护
in the item 14, it emphasizes the significance of sustainably using the resources in the ocean. But now we also realize it's very important to approach the resources in the deep ocean in a more sustainable way without over-exploring it. Now we see some achievement have been reaped in this regard, but we also see that 60% of the areas of the oceans are out of the jurisdiction of any nations. So those areas have been over-polluted or exploited, and that have severely impacted the biodiversities in those areas. While those areas, they contribute profoundly to the biodiversity, to the natural resources, and the carbon storage in the world. Therefore, we have issued ANCOs, that international convention, that is law-binding international conventions, urging us to protect the biodiversities in those areas out of the jurisdiction of any countries. And today with us are two speakers. The first speaker is Mr. Pan Xinchun, Secretary General of China Oceanic Development Foundation, People's Republic China. Okay, so cheer up, my dear friends. I know maybe you don't have enough time to rest last night, but today is a very inspiring day, so cheer up, please. And another lady with us is Madam Julien Tang from the Marine Strategy of Department of Marine Strategy, Ministry of National Resources, People's Republic of China, and she is a division director. And I really appreciate your dress. I like the blue color of it. It's very symbolic color of Tiffany, and it's also symbolizes the charm of great ocean.
I feel more comfortable with the lady sitting next to me.
那我看到我旁边坐了一位美丽的女士，我自己也觉得特别开心啊。And we also have a speaker from online.
关系研究所叫 IDDRI 的海洋计划主管，他在法国，
And today with us
朱利安·罗切特。
is also Mr. Julien Rochette, Ocean Program Director, IDDRI.
他是联合国科教文组织
And also with us
UNESCO 政府间海洋学委员
online
会
panel
的执行秘书。 总部呢也在法国。
also Mr.
他的名字听起来像是俄国
I'm
人
not so sure about his pronunciation. Vladimir Ryabinin, Executive Secretary, Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, UNESCO. And also another panelist for today's discussion, he is from Qingdao. Qingdao, we know that is the hotspot for the COVID-19 control.
我是开玩笑。 So he is
Mr. Zhang Chunyu, Research Fellow, Chinese Academy of Social Science, from People's Republic of China. But it's a great pity that Mr. Zhang Chunyu can be with us today, because I just mentioned the city where he is a hot space for the COVID-19 control, so we can only meet him online. Without further ado, let's proceed on with today's discussion in the morning. And in English, we would like to call it brainstorming or panel discussion. And for each and every of our panelists, they will have 15 minutes opening remark. I will not call it a speech. I would like to call it opening remarks. So please.
Time constraints. I have to follow the discipline brutally. Okay. My execution of the discipline would be very brutal. I'm known for this notoriously. 好，接下来呢，有请联合国。
So firstly, let's give floor to Mr. Vladimir to be our first panelist. And he will talk about the significance to set up an international consensus in governing the ocean areas. We know to achieve this, we still have a lot of challenges. But how shall we tackle those challenges? What kind of contributing factors are necessary for us to achieve such a target? And what role China can play in this regard? Welcome.
Of this auditory. I would like to try to answer logos of different programs. So if I have this slide on the screen, you will see the complexity and also the breadth of different frameworks for governance of the ocean. With the special sustainable development goal 14 on the ocean. And you already mentioned in your introduction the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea, with the new extension of that convention that is going to be legally binding. That extension is on the biodiversity beyond areas of national jurisdiction. But of course, we shouldn't forget also the climate convention and the Paris Agreement, which also speaks about the ocean. The Convention of Biodiversity, that also has some part that is devoted to the ocean. And there are many conventions related to pollution. So I think with this number of different conventions, the ocean should be governed very effectively. But you know, there is a big difference between governance and management. Yes, we have laws, we have agreements, but when it comes to management of the ocean, we are lagging very much behind. So I would ask you to move to the next slide, please. So on this slide, you should see a title page of a special publication that was issued by the United Nations, which was called Integrated Assessment of the Ocean, or World Ocean Assessment #1. You will see a turtle on the page, and the most important conclusion from that assessment. The conclusion reads that the humankind is running out of time to start managing the ocean sustainably. Indeed, the ocean is in a very difficult stage. The ocean is sick. So, and this shows that despite the governance regimes, despite the best efforts of governments in terms of management of the ocean, we are still very much behind of what is required. So let's move to the next slide. So on this slide, you should see four different pictures. So I would like to state that this slide, at least for me, professionally, illustrates how we could manage the ocean. So we cannot manage what we cannot measure. And because of that, the foundation of the whole system is a system of ocean observations. The Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO is the leading United Nations organization that coordinates the global ocean observing system, that provides physical, biological, ecological, biogeochemical data. From observations, we should move to research towards better understanding of what is happening in the ocean. And then we will be able to predict the state of the ocean. We also need to understand what happened in the past. So on the bottom of the page, you will see two slides, and one of them is called Integrated Ocean Management. So this is what we all are thinking about. How to manage the ocean. But what is also very important is that now, and I see the fantastic organization of this forum, I see the technology. But you know, if you look at the map of the world that is on the right bottom corner of that slide, you will see a special map in which the areas of countries are deliberately expanded or shrunk in accordance to the number of publications in oceanography. And you will see that we have centers of power. One of them is in the North America. The other center of power is in the Europe, and one more center of power. You have to be proud of this, Chinese colleagues, is in China, and have also to say that this is about English-speaking literature. But you don't see on the map Africa. It means that Africa doesn't publish, and it means that they are not able to benefit from the science that could help us to manage the ocean. So first of all, in order not to leave anyone behind, we need to increase the capacity of the African countries. So let's move to the next slide. On this slide you will see 9 circles, and they represent to you different ways of managing the ocean. You know, you can see, you can look at the slide, but I will introduce them a little bit differently. You can have so-called area-based ways of managing the ocean. That will be management of coastal zones, management of exclusive economic zones, for example, through maritime special planning. In China, it's called zoning of the ocean. Also, we are approaching now management of the space beyond areas of natural jurisdiction. For example, establishing marine protected areas. There is also specialized professional ways of managing the ocean. That would be management of fisheries, management of shipping, management of energy coming to the ocean. And also this goes into policy, into decisions of governing bodies. Planning of science in respect of what is required for the country is the way of managing the ocean. So the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO was very much concerned with the state of science in terms of how can science help to manage the ocean. And in 2017, we proposed to United Nations to conduct a decade of ocean science. Next slide, please. Now on the slide, you should see a logo of the decade on the white background. And this proposal to conduct the decade of ocean science was accepted. So now we have the implementation plan of the decade already presented to the United Nations General Assembly. And yesterday I spoke to United Nations General Assembly presenting the implementation plan of the decade, presenting the ideas, presenting the coordinating structure for the decade. And so the vision of the decade is the science we need for the ocean we want. And we would like to see a managed ocean based on science. So we also outlined the desired societal outcomes of the decade. Let's go to the next slide, please. You will see some text on the slide. So the social outcomes of the decade. We would like to see the ocean clean, healthy, resilient. And you can easily see these are qualities, I would say, basically of ocean water. But we also can see some elements like predicted ocean, like safe ocean. And you can easily understand these are not qualities of ocean water. These are qualities of people and their relation to water. So inspiring and engaging ocean is a way for us to change our behavior towards the ocean. Because we thought the ocean was just limitless and they can do anything, can dump any waste into the ocean. It's no longer true. So this several societal outcomes, our philosophical big vision for what is the ocean that we would like to have in the future. But we also outlined, and this was done in unprecedented consultation with with thousands of participants, with hundreds of organizations, with dozens of countries in all basins of the world ocean, what should be the focus of the scientific work? And we understand that we need to really find ways to get rid of pollution. This will help us to study better ecosystems under the influence of multi-stressors, and on the understanding of ecosystems, make ocean healthier. This will help us to produce food from the ocean. And the production of food is just a little element of the sustainable ocean economy that we foresee for the future. With multi-trillion dollar generation of wealth every year. But we know that the ocean is under influence of the climate change that we also caused. So we need to consider the most important nexus between ocean and climate. And also, because of the same climate change, China is already, for example, experiencing strong tropical cyclones, even the northern parts of China, even to the north of China, and of course in many other parts of the world. So we have to really address the issue of ocean and climate. And ocean is actually going to absorb less carbon in the future. This is a huge change for the ocean governance and also climate governance. So we need to know how to deal with disasters. For that, once again, we need to have observing system. We need to generate a digital twin of the ocean. And also, I already spoke about the uneven capacity in the world when it comes to ocean science and capacities. So we need to really develop the capacity. And this requires a behavior change. We need to have people who are connected to the ocean. This can be achieved, for example, through ocean literacy, when people know how their dependence on the ocean and their influence on the ocean. So, as I said yesterday, I spoke to the United Nations General Assembly, and also yesterday we issued the first call for action for the decade, moving from the governance, moving from the framework to real content of the decade. This call is on until the 15th of January. Let's now move to the last slide of my presentation, in which I will try to present to you some ideas of what China could do. First of all, China is known for its organization. So I would invite you to establish a national committee for the ocean decade, and to invite in this national committee all stakeholders. But you know, the ocean decade is a matter of international cooperation. So consult with countries, with your neighbors, and also outside of your region, what you can do together. Because decadal programs are the largest programs in the decade. Of course, there will be some projects, there will be some actions, but we'd like to have massive, very effective and very ambitious programs for the decade. And then, of course, we would be really appreciating if you could help IOC to run the decade, because we're a small organization and we're starting something that is similar to in expense to launching a satellite, or even much bigger than that. So this is one thing. But also on the national level, I think you already have this, but you know, it is really important that all ministries, all stakeholders in the country speak the same language, have a platform for their discussion.
Thank you very much, sir. Time is up.
And
thank you so much.
And coordinate your work in the ocean. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind advice and suggestions for the Chinese authorities to improve our maritime governance, of course, in partnership with all other stakeholders, hopefully in the near future. 那么关于刚才Vladimir先生给中国
Just now, Mr. Ryabinin proposed some ideas for Chinese government, and now I would like to invite the next speaker. Maybe he will be providing China with more suggestions. She is Madam Tang Dongmei, Julia Tang. She is the Division Director for Marine Strategy, and she will be talking about how we can step up protection and our measures to enhance marine governance in areas beyond national jurisdictions. So warm applause to Madame Tang. Thank you very much. Mr. Vladimir Ryabinin is a member of IOC, a very important partner of China, and also international organization in marine governance, and he proposed Ocean Decade program, and I would also like to comment on his sharing. Just now, international community, as mentioned by Mr. Vladimir Ryabinin, focuses on marine governance, and I have been working in this regard for many years. So for Sustainable Development 2030 has 17 objectives, and including poverty alleviation, tourism, gender equality, and also marine governance. Many different areas are covered by 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. And when different countries are signing the agenda, the countries notice that the objectives are interconnected. And for Objective 14 is highly related to marine governance. And in 2014, I participated in the first UN Ocean Sustainable Development Forum. Maybe this is the first forum dedicated especially to marine governance. And at that time, at the conference, there were several topics. One is blue economy, and about 1/3 of the content at the forum was targeted blue economy. We are seeking resources and also development resources from ocean. And just now we also talked about issues like biodiversity, rising sea level, ocean waste, and also ocean acidification. And these are also challenges for us in this new era. And also Mr. Vladimir Ryabinin mentioned that in terms of ocean management and governance, we should also pay great attention to areas beyond national jurisdiction. I would like to propose a case here that is marine protective area, and also European countries also pay a close attention to it. If we set up these protective areas, we can help to protect about 30% of the oceans. And if you look at the areas under protection, only a small portion of the ocean is well protected. But if we want to protect 30% of the ocean, we must pay attention to areas beyond national jurisdiction. And
make up for the gaps. In particular, I think the gaps rest with those areas out of the jurisdiction of those countries. So when we talk about the construction of the conserved area out of jurisdiction of countries, I think it would be a kind of open oceans shared by the human as a whole. And that will generate a new policy, a new mechanism, and that will also urge us to reapproach our traditional management concerning the ocean and also the resources. And we also talk about, currently, we say that the management of the ocean is too fragmented. When we say it's too fragmented, what we mean is that those areas are out of the jurisdiction of any nations, so there is no authorities that is law-binding to issue any rulings or any policies to force people to manage or preserve those areas. So far, not a universally recognized conventions or consensus have been adopted in those areas, and no preventive measures can be adopted in this regard. And that is why we call it a fragmented management. That is why in the 2005, the United Nations General Assembly have adopted a new convention. We call it the 69 Convention, and that is law-binding to the whole human population, and we call it BBNGA International Protocol, and that is about the preservation of biodiversity and also the sustainable development in those areas out of the jurisdiction of any nation. And I believe this protocol is one of the most important international conventions of its kind over the past years. Its core goal is to conserve and sustain the resources in the open oceans. When we talk about biodiversity, you may consider is a topic far away from us. As a matter of fact, when we talk about biodiversity, it's closely associated with our daily life. That involves the diversity of biospecies and also involves the preservation of the ecosystem. And ecosystem is the environment where we lived on a daily basis. And we have, before the adoption of this protocol, United Nations experts have made decades of research, and based on that, it put forward 4 major goals. One of it is the genetic resources of the ocean and the sharing of the genetic resources. We all know that in Xinchun we have BGI, and many of those informations and data about genes come from deep ocean, because in deep ocean areas, due to the high pressure and low temperature, some rare genes can be preserved, and it is vital for the development of biochemistry industry and pharmaceutical industry. And also, some other major roles include the ecological environment conservation, etc. And that is closely associated with your business. If you work in a shipping company or work in a deep ocean exploration company, so your business is at stake with all those international conventions. So we have to admit that for different countries and different individuals, our understanding, our knowledge about deep ocean differs from each other, and the technologies adopted by different nations to explore the ocean also differ from each other. We see great gaps among nations. I personally have been participated in this project for many years. On my personal experience, I feel that in particular, over the past 1 to 2 years, the world have undergone profound changes, including the international trading patterns and international political structures, etc. And President Xi Jinping also emphasized that we are confronted with unprecedented changes over the past 100 years. As a consequence, the domestic environment and the international environment changes correspondingly, and we see anti-globalization trend, and also we see the increase of confrontation and mistrust, and also we see the increasing confrontation among those trading partners or even trading competitors. In particular, during the COVID-19 pandemic, I believe you also feel that. And despite all this, we try to put forward a solution of China. So China's solution is that we should build a shared destiny community of the oceans. We know that ocean is spatial areas that are shared by all nations. That means any challenges to ocean cannot be reserved by any single party, any single country. It demands a collaborative effort from all over the world. And we also need to approach the conservation of ocean from different dimensions and different perspectives, and that is vital to the human civilization. And we need to be more open-minded in this regard. We should give full play to different cultures and different values to participate in the protection of Mother Ocean. And what we want to promote is a balanced, just, and fair play platforms for the conservation of oceans worldwide. And to achieve this, we need the participation of all of you from all over the world, and it should be a multi-party partnership. Okay, so that wraps up my part of sharing. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. It's really a really informative and inspiring speech. Can I have a small quiz for your English? You said that you have participated in a lot of international negotiations. We know that there's two words. One is marine, one is maritime. So what's the difference between these two English words? So how about the audience? Any of you who are interested in taking up this question? So it seems that no one is interested in that. We're talking about the blue ocean. I only see one or two or three. You say you're interested about English, and you have interest to take up this question. So few of you are interested about English. It seems that I have put forward a silly question. So I have been an anchorman for English dialogue programs for 2 decades, but I'm still confused about the differences between these two words, maritime. So on my part, marine refers to anything related to the ocean, the sea itself, while maritime is more closely with the things, activities happening in the ocean, or industry and business operating on the ocean. So that is my personal definition for the differences between the two. And so, you know, when we call it a maritime forum, it actually covers all the business and industries happening on the sea or deep in the sea. So it's a blue economy. It's a blue economy. Or we see that some of our seas have been severely polluted. I would like to call it a blue, yellow economy rather than blue economy because it's so severely polluted. Yes, so what we are doing is further explore into the deep ocean to explore the mysteries in the deep blue ocean. Okay. So we see that you are kind of sleepy. In order to cheer you up, I just give you a small quiz. I hope that with the quiz I can cheer you up. But it seems that I put forward a silly question. You are not interested in it. So personally, on my part, I still think you should pay more attention to English because English actually is a very important language and is a very important communicative tools that can link the world and link different civilizations. Okay, without further ado, let's give floor to our next speaker, Mr. Pan Xinchun, Secretary General of China Oceanic Development Foundation, People's Republic of China. And he will talk about China's role in the conservation of ocean. And you have 10 minutes to deliver your speech. I'm very glad to hear your warm applause because that symbolizes your enthusiasm and your passion for this topic. Thank you, Mr. Yang. I have participated in the conservation of ocean for many years. So it's a great honor for me to be here and to brief over what China have done and have achieved over the past years in conserving our ocean. When we talk about the governance of the ocean, generally speaking, it refers to a comprehensive management of ocean resources. China is a country with vast expanse of seas. So for us, the governance of ocean is vital for the social progress and economic development, and it's also vital to achieving our goal to be a country, a great power, or a great economy in the blue economy. And what we have been doing is to enhance our capacity in governing the ocean. For China, over the past 7 decades, we have been exploring continuously. And during the process, we also experienced reform and opening, during which we have make leap forward progress. And we see that our development has been transformed from an extensive development to an intensive development. And we pay growing attention to the sustainable development as well as the conservation of resources while exploring the resources at the same time. In this process, a framework for the ocean conservation has been gradually set up step by step. So, what is the core values for the conservation of sea? So, on the part of China, the core is we have to strictly comply by the international conventions adopted by United Nations and other international consensus or protocols, while at the same time an open-minded attitude should be adopted, and also the first priority should go to the protection of country's sovereignty and integrity, while at the same time exploring our ocean resources reasonably and sustainably, and try to strike a balance between the social effect and the economic value. And our anchorman also asked me what is the role of China in preserving the sea. I think, firstly, what we should do is to set up a framework for the preservation of sea. So far, we have stipulated and promulgated 38 laws and regulations to protect the sea, and also we have launched 75 plans, general plans, and 150 policies concerning the conservation of sea. So, to preserve our ocean, we have initiated some very innovative policies, including the jurisdiction of the sea and also the pricing strategies for the exploration of ocean resources. And also, we have issued some policies concerning the protection of the island on the sea, the coastal area of the sea, the wetland along the sea lines, coastal lines, and all those are major steps we have adopted. And we also have clearly specified that we should have very strict regulations concerning the application and approval for any project that were built on the sea or on the coastal areas. So in this way, we can preserve the land resources, and also we can appropriately deal with any historical issues in the ocean areas. And when we talk about China's sovereignty and integrity, we also should adopt a very down-to-earth manner. We should approach this issue in a very comprehensive way, considering all contributing factors, including the cultural factor, historical factor, economic and social factor, as well as the sustainable development of the environment, sustainable development of the eco-environment. And also, we should consider the international relation and our partnership with other countries.
And we should also establish ocean governance system with the ocean management as the core. We now have a lot of provinces and municipal cities establish their own institutions, law enforcement institutions, and the governments at both provincial and municipal levels have used different technologies to establish ocean observation systems and platforms. And dozens of ocean research centers and universities have also been established to improve China's ocean governance. And in terms of the protection of the ocean ecology, China has also done its part. China has developed a number of ocean functional zones to better manage and govern the ocean. And since the laws and regulations put into effect since 2002, we have approved a lot of projects and approvals for the use of ocean resources and different functions of the resources. And we have also protected 37% of the coastal lines and 30% of the golden areas of the ocean. And we have also established about 270 protection areas of the ocean, protecting an area of 12 million square meters of the ocean. And since 2010, China has implemented 1,300 ocean ecological restoration projects. And we can see that in 2019, the blue economy has contributed to about 89 billion dollars. And we can also see that China's role in ocean governance and capacity building is progressing, and China has played an important role in this regard. And especially since China is proposing its 21st Century Maritime Silk Road and relevant projects, many other countries have learned from China. And for our foundation to better help China to implement the Maritime Silk Road initiative and to promote the development of the blue economy and also the partnership of Belt and Road Initiative, we have established a blue economy related project, which is an international cooperation project. And this is positively reacted and responded by countries like Mauritius, Madagascar, Sri Lanka, Fiji, Bangladesh, Cambodia, Papua New Guinea, and many other countries in the Latin American countries. And also we have seen the participation and the signing of agreements of international organizations around the Pacific region. And the project is under smooth progress. And I think that in terms of ocean governance, China is playing its role. And we think that China and other countries share the world and share the ocean. So protecting the ocean is the shared responsibility of all humankind. And so China has proposed the community of a shared destiny and also a shared ocean community. And we need to ensure that the harmony between human and ocean and also the sustainable development of both society, ecology, and economy. And you can see that China's ideas and proposals are very different from those of other countries. So this is the end of my sharing. So 1 minute earlier then he's supposed to stop. But I think if you can speak without the scripts will be better. We know that China has proposed many different initiatives, and many countries have participated in China's initiatives. But many ideas and actions and policies of China are different from those of other countries, especially Western countries. Maybe we can see that we can have different ideas, but actually we have shared visions. So maybe China should also better consider how the country promotes its initiatives and ideas in such a way that will be recognized by Western countries. Maybe China will better have its role played in to better play its role in the international arena. So this is some of my ideas as I am from the international interaction background. And now I would like to invite Mr. Julien Rochette. He is the Ocean Program Director of Iddri, headquartered in France. And he will be sharing with us topics on the challenges related to areas beyond national jurisdictions and subsidies for ocean governance and relevant measures for challenges in this regard.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for their kind invitation. I'm very sorry not to be with you in person today, but I'm very keen to participate even remotely in this important conference. 2020 was supposed to be a super year for the ocean, with many opportunities to strengthen multilateral cooperation. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, this super year has been delayed, but major policy processes are still on track and must quickly be finalized to ensure better conservation and sustainable use of the ocean. Let me focus on three major opportunities I see to strengthen the ocean's governance framework in the coming months. First, the international community has the opportunity and even the obligation, according to SDG 14.6 target, to conclude an agreement on fishery subsidies by the end of this year. It's estimated that $35 billion are allocated every year to the fisheries sector, more than half of which contribute to the overexploitation of natural resources, and 3/4 of which go to industrial fleets. This is not sustainable. Negotiations at the World Trade Organization started years ago, and states made important progress on tax negotiations these last weeks. But this negotiation should be finalized by the end of this year, and all efforts should be made to conclude a fair and sustainable agreement. At a time when states are trying to secure funding for recovery plans, it's not acceptable to waste money with outdated subsidies that contribute to overexploitation of our limited natural resources and deepen inequalities. The fisheries sector and the communities whose livelihood depend on it deserve better. Such an agreement would be a huge step forward, implementing SDG 14.6, relieving pressure on the ocean and redirecting financial flows toward more sustainable and equitable practices. Few other decisions could have such an immediate positive impact. Second, the negotiation on a legally binding agreement on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity in ABNG, areas beyond national jurisdiction, are also a key moment for the fate of the ocean. ABNG represents early half of the Earth's surface and a significant portion of its biodiversity. The remoteness of these areas and a lack of knowledge previously placed them beyond the reach of human activities. However, in recent decades, technological advancement, increased scientific knowledge and growing demand for resources have increased interest in these areas, driving unprecedented exploitation and exploration. The international law must now be updated to tackle these challenges, and formal negotiations for a legally binding agreement were launched in 2017. The last session was supposed to take place in 2020, but negotiation has been delayed, and states should hopefully meet again next year. I will not elaborate further on the importance of this treaty because I think most of you understand perfectly the challenges at stake, but what I would like to highlight is the necessity to anticipate the conditions for its effective implementation. The added value of a legal agreement should not only be assessed in light of the ambition of its provisions, but also based on its implementability. The decision-making process, funding mechanisms, reporting mechanisms, and monitoring, control and surveillance are, for instance, enabling conditions that states should carefully consider. The international environmental law has always faced significant challenges to its effectiveness, and it's therefore crucial to ensure conditions are met for the implementation of the future BBNG agreement. Last, the future of the ocean also depends on other regulatory regimes. In recent years, efforts have been made to better integrate marine issues into the climate change negotiation. And for example, a dedicated ocean and climate change dialogue will be held next November under the UNFCCC umbrella. This is an important step forward, but ocean issues should also be more consistently integrated in the biodiversity processes, and the current negotiation on a post-2020 biodiversity framework are a great opportunity in this regard. States should agree on ambitious objectives for the conservation and sustainable use of the ocean, and I'm thinking in particular of the so-called 30 by 30 target to transform 30% of the global ocean into marine protected areas by 2030. I know the Chinese government is really committed to make the CBD COP15 a success, and I hope marine issues will be fully integrated in its outcome. So you can see, despite the current crisis, there are some short-term opportunities to strengthen the ocean governance framework with the negotiation on fisheries subsidies, ABNG, and biodiversity. Let me add a last point already touched upon before. Adopting legal agreement to filling legal gaps is the first step, but this is not sufficient to protect the ocean. The main challenge the international community has to face is the effective implementation of all ocean-related agreements that have been adopted over the last years. This requires political will, national reforms, but also cooperation. Scientists like to say there is only one ocean and that all nations are interconnected. In this particular period, multilateral cooperation is more than ever the key condition to ensure ocean resilience and conservation. Thank you very much for your attention.
我一直非常喜欢法国人，不仅
I appreciate French culture and especially French English. And I interviewed Chris Patton, and he wrote a book, but in the book he sounded not like a diplomat. And the former president of France also mentioned that the body language can view the language of your culture. And actually, the body language of French people are as rich as the language of the French culture. And coming next, I would like to invite Mr. Zhang Chunyu. He will be talking about the role of Shenzhen in ocean governance and in the post-COVID-19 era, what changes should be made to Shenzhen's actions in terms of ocean governance. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good morning. I want to be in person, but unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 control measures, I have to stay online. So I'm online, but I can still feel the enthusiasm and also heated discussion on your side. And the speakers have talked about different aspects of ocean governance. I'm not Shenzhen local, but I have participated in many cooperation projects with Shenzhen, and I also worked in many different Shenzhen ocean management and ocean governance projects. And from my background, I would like to share some of my opinions.
So it is a very comprehensive and inclusive topic that includes the industry, business, resource exploration, etc. So when we talk about the global ocean governance, we can approach it from different channels in different ways. That involves the laws and regulations and law enforcement, and also involves the standard stipulation, etc. So in the 21st century, China showed growing attention in the global ocean governance. Now, we have reaped some initial achievement in this regard. If I want to describe China's role in this regard, I would like to call it one of the key players in the ocean governance, but we still have limited influence and limited competence. And in future, I believe we need to step up role in the global ocean governance and contribute more in this regard. To achieve this objective, we need to enhance our hardware and also our software. We need to increase our hard power as well as soft power. And Xinchun now is building itself into an ocean city, and this has been defined as one of the central city in the blue economy. So how to achieve this end? We should shoulder our responsibility to represent China, to shoulder China's responsibility in protecting the ocean. So when we talk about the ocean governance, I just mentioned it's a very inclusive and a comprehensive concept. You cannot have a too narrow or sided approach to it. And many people think that on the global ocean governance, we use this only as a concept to attract global attention. For example, Shenzhen, some people say that Shenzhen just used this as a hook to attract more international institutions, international organizations to come to Shenzhen and to organize an international event here. You cannot put it in this way, because you not only have to talk the talk, but you also have to walk the walk. Yes, we want to attract more international partners, and we also want to extend our international influence, but we need to have enough attractiveness. And I think in order to achieve our objective, what we need is the international partnership. First, we have to lay a solid foundation for the development of blue ocean. Secondly, we should develop our own attractiveness and our own characteristics. And I believe we are confronted with threefold tasks. First is the building of economy and infrastructures. Economy is a foundation of ocean governance. So what we should do is we have to improve the economic development in Shenzhen and step up it to a level that can be called an international leading level in the development of blue economy. While at the same time, we also have to enhance the development of the manufacturing industry and service industry related to blue economy. And Shenzhen, we should build ourselves into a regional, even international financial center for blue economy. And because economy is the foundation, without which it's impossible for us to step up of international influence. And second task is that we have to further enhance our science and technology competence, building Shenzhen into a regional international science and technology center in blue economy. So that is the major task for us. Now we are talking about the dual cycling economy. So we need to find more innovations and more growth point in the blue ocean. In a blue economy. So the science and technology development has always been a cutting edge of Shenzhen, and that also contribute to the profound achievement reaped by Shenzhen over past years. And that is also why we really look forward to Shenzhen in this regard. And the third task is the environment improvement. By environment, it refers to both the natural environment and also the business environment, as well as the culture environment. By culture environment, I mean we need to cultivate a kind of a wellness and culture for their ocean conservation. Because China for a long time have been considered as a mainland country, which means that the general public has limited awareness about the ocean economy, about preserving the sea. So what we should do is first we have to enhance the general public's awareness of ocean, of blue economy. And also we should build Shenzhen into a livable and more environment-friendly city. To first internationalize Shenzhen, we still have a long way to go. Maybe compared with other Chinese cities, Shenzhen has been fully internationalized, but compared with other international cities, we still see great gaps. We need to improve our infrastructures in education, in medical care, in culture and entertainment, etc. We have paid a few visits to some countries in Norway and in UK, and when we mentioned Qianhai development zone to them, they confused Qianhai with Shanghai. It means they know very little about Qianhai zone in Shenzhen. I think that should be blamed on the lack of infrastructures and business and their industrial environment that can attract the international talents. You know that to build it yourself into a leading hub for blue economy, you need to have the leading environment, be it natural environment, industrial or business environment. And that is foundation we should lay. Without this, it's impossible for us to sustain the development of blue economy. And Xinchun, because China now is building a Silk Road on the sea, and Xinchun should be a starting point as well as a hub in this regard. It should be a gateway and also pioneer areas where we can implement some innovative policies and with which we can increase China's influence as a major power in ocean economy. We have to make sure that Xinchun have enough competence in the emergency response, in hosting the international major events, and also in accommodating some international shipping industry organizations or the maritime industry organizations. And also Xinchun should actively engage in stipulating the international protocol and standards in maritime industry. These are the core competence that can underpin Shenzhen's position as an oceanic city. To achieve this objective, to be honest, we still have a long way to go. The blessing is that Xinchun, over the past years, have fostered a strong position in science and technology development. And that is why we have confidence in building Xinchun into a leading cities for blue economy. We say that we have to build Xinchun into a leading and central city for blue economy. So here are some keywords. First, international. Secondly, ocean or blue economy. And third, central city. These are the keywords. So the first fold of task, just as I mentioned, is to make Shenzhen really an international city. And now we are confronted with profound changes, be it in the domestic market or in the overseas market. In response to those changes, we see different kinds of comments and judgment. On my part, I also have my own understanding for those changes. I think we are at the threshold of a new era. The 20th century, we see the growing globalization. Now, the conclusion of the 20th century, I think, actually took place in 2008. Well, from the year 2019, we really set foot on a new era. And in such a new era, we need to adapt ourselves. In the era of globalization, what we emphasize is open mind as international collaboration. Well, in this new era, what we should do is to build our own strong and resilient social and economic system. And that is a foothold before we can really go abroad. But I do not mean we should be too conservative or narrow-minded or just focus on our domestic development. What I want to emphasize is that we will continue with international collaboration, but at the same time, we need to adapt ourselves in response to the global pattern changes. And in particular, due to the impact of COVID and pandemic, we see more and more new challenges. And the service industry have been severely impacted, including the advanced manufacturing sectors have been severely impacted, including those Shenzhen, where the advanced manufacturing industry have been severely impacted. While for some other areas whose competitive advantages mainly rest with the advanced manufacturing industries, maybe they will find new opportunities after COVID-19. And I believe in the post-pandemic era, we need to strike the balance between the virtual economy and the physical economy. And also, the city's resilience becomes more important. Cities should be a safe hub for the population. And Shenzhen, I believe, it has its advantages in the post-pandemic era because it has its own competitive advantages. I also have confidence in Shenzhen in building itself into a leading international city in blue economy. And I also personally want to do my contribution for such an important undertaking. Thank you. I really appreciate your Mandarin. As moderator, I'm very sensitive to people's pronunciation. You actually speak excellent Mandarin. Also, you have also see that from Mr. Zhang Chunyu's speech, you can see that he actually make a very in-depth analysis about the competitive advantages of Xinchun in order to build it into a leading central city in blue economy, what kind of task we should do. So he has fully recognized Shenzhen's competence and qualification in this regard, and he also put forward a question and put a question mark here whether or not we are fully qualified compared with some cities like the Amsterdam and the Norway and also in Sweden. We still have a long way to go to catch up with them before we can really building ourselves into a leading international hub for the blue economy. Is Shenzhen ready for such great undertaking? Maybe we can put a question mark here, but we still have confidence in it. And now we hold this forum in Shenzhen. Does this mean Shenzhen is fully qualified to become a international leading city in blue economy? Maybe we still have to put a question mark here, but I still have confidence in the people of Shenzhen. I believe with the joint effort of Shenzhen people, with our enthusiasm and determination, in the long run, we can still achieve our end. Because we know, looking back over the history, Shenzhen used to be a small fishing village, and now it has evolved into an international hub, a metropolitan city. Okay, so now let's move on to a more interactive session, the QA session. And I really appreciate the interaction with the audience. And I really appreciate our online speakers, online panelists sharing his ideas with us. In particular, Mr. Zhang, you are in Qingdao. So I know a lot of stories and histories about Qingdao. So I have a question for you. We talk about the governance of the oceans, in particular the biodiversity in the ocean areas, out of the jurisdiction of any nations. Biodiversity has been a very hot topic over the past years. It has been repeatedly mentioned in international conferences. And the Western countries pay growing attention for the biodiversity to preserve the endangered species. And in particular, those European countries, we see there were growing attention for the European countries in protecting the endangered species. So that actually is a good phenomenon. That means we are not only so narrow-minded, just focusing on our own interests and our benefits, no longer just focus on the bread and butter, and they jumped out of the box and they tried to approach the world from a more long-term view and a more comprehensive approach. That may be because the European countries is more developed compared with us. Maybe for China, most of the Chinese people, now we just focus on the economic development and on the livelihood of ourselves. But I believe in the long run, we will also shift more focus to the protection of biodiversity, to those endangered species. So I have a question for Madam Tang as well. What's your comments in the protecting of biodiversity?
Actually, humans are part of the environment and also part of biodiversity. We talked about the relations between human and nature and human being in the environment, and so we understand that humans are part of the environment. But speaking of biodiversity, people are feeling kind of remote from their daily life. One example here, in the COVID-19 pandemic, some scientists from other countries have developed a drug which has been put into application. This is also the inspiration for us. For another example, BGI has developed a very large gene database. If you want to do research, you will understand that gene bank is very important. If you want to research on a new species and write a paper on gene, you need to report the number of the gene from the gene bank. So you can see that the area of application, you can see that biodiversity has become a very important topic and issue that we should follow. And in this biodiversity-related industries, we can see that the value is increasing. Especially in recent years, it amounts to about $40 billion. And you also mentioned biodiversity protection. And I think the EU and many other Western countries focus on this issue, and because of China, because China is at a different level of development, maybe we are somewhat lagging behind in terms of biodiversity protection. The Western countries may be more advanced in terms of ocean observations and ocean monitoring, but all countries have limited knowledge about deep water. You mean all countries or developed countries or developing countries? We need to be very clear about this point, because we could not talk this issue on behalf of all countries or specific countries. And if we talked about the biodiversity protection in deep water, China is lagging behind. Maybe it's because Western countries are not willing to share technologies with China. But actually, if you look at our knowledge about ocean, especially deep water area of ocean, we only have about 10% of the knowledge that we should know. But if you look at Western countries, they have more investment and advanced technologies, so their knowledge will be more than that of developing countries. So the knowledge is not even among different countries. And we have a Zhaolong vessel, which is a deep water observation and exploring vessel of China. If we look at the function of the vessel, it is manned vessels. But like other Western countries, such as Japan, has already conducted deep water exploration project earlier than China did. So you can see that knowledge decides how far we can go. But you can see that actually knowledge and capacity are also decided by the development phases where a country is at. And we also need to look at collaboration between different countries, because the willingness to cooperate is very important. We know cooperation is very important, but we are not doing very well in this regard. Because you can see that the investment from different countries in ocean and ocean governance is not as much as the international community did before. Especially investments in ocean-related monitoring or forecast, the investments is increasing. So you can see the financial support is less than before. Maybe the outcomes is not as good as before. And China is also faced with such challenges. And the world is also expecting China to play a bigger role, more investment from China. It is no problem that China should invest more. But we should also realize that China, in spite of the investment, there are lots of limitations concerning China's knowledge and also technologies concerning ocean governance. We have made some breakthroughs, but we should also work under a more comprehensive frameworks, contributing to ocean governance as a developing country, and we should also China should also work to promote a fairer and more equitable frameworks concerning cooperation between both developed countries and developing countries. We have common but differentiated responsibilities in terms of ocean governance. China is part of the emerging economies or developing countries. The country has its own ideas and proposals based on the development stage the country is at. But some of the proposals or actions by China is accused of being dumping or being providing more subsidies to the industry. But this is another issue. And now I would like to return to Mr. Zhang. I would like to organize discussions on sensitive topics. Several years ago, there is large media coverage on combustible ice under deep water by China. And the Chinese people are very proud of such a project, thinking that China is getting a very different energy that can be used on a sustainable basis. But we can see that we should still improve the sustainable development ocean to better serve the economic needs, because China is still at a lower level development stage. We should not only focus on protection, but development is also very important for us. So I would like to know your opinions on China's attitude in this regard, especially as combustible ice is being explored by China. Actually, I'm not very familiar with the stance of Chinese government. I cannot speak on behalf of the Chinese government. I can only share my personal observations with you. So from my personal understanding as a scholar, I would share my ideas from this regard. Combustible ice is a heated topic, especially in media coverage, and people are closely following this issue. China's exploration of combustible ice. China has made great achievements in this regard in terms of both technologies, the amount of combustible ice exploited, and also methods of the exploitation. China has made progress in this regard, but in fact, China is just at the preliminary stage of combustible ice exploitation and development. We are still lagging behind in terms of our progress in terms of compared with other countries such as Japan. Several years ago, Japan had deeper knowledge about combustible ice than we did. And when we are exploiting combustible ice, we should also consider environmental protection. And China has adopted relevant measures to protect the environment when exploiting resources from deep water. But there are also threats and risks. In the future, when we are to commercialize combustible ice, we should consider more. So the exploitation of combustible ice is not the end. It is much different from commercialization of this resource. So there's still a long way to go before we can fully commercialize combustible ice. Combustible ice is very potential energy for human in the future at a large scale. But how much commercial value can we dig from this resource is left to discovery. U.S. discovered shale gas many years ago, but at that time they didn't know how much value they could get out of shale gas. But with technology progress and the progress of production processes, we see the commercialization of shale gas. And I think this is a similar case with combustible ice. It is a difficult journey, but we should be confident in the journey we have embarked on. In the future, environmental protection may be a constraint in our use of combustible ice. Actually, the picture is the same with the use of shale gas. For instance, the use of the water and water contamination by shale gas exploitation. So under the sustainable development philosophy or framework, the exploitation of resources should be conducted in a sustainable way under sustainable development framework. And in terms of environmental protection and sustainable use of energies, we are facing greater challenges than we imagine. So for the future development of combustible ice, I have some confidence in this the development of this resource. Thank you very much. Thank you for your sharing. It's very inspiring. There were three questions here. Can we exploit combustible ice? What is the cost of it? And what is the future commercial value of this resource? And I think your answers are very inspiring for me. And I think today's discussion is kind of education in nature to inspire us to know more about ocean civilization, the blue economy, and also the future sustainable development. Maybe 85% of the topics are new to us. And now I would like to invite Pence to talk about the governance and also the implementation of governance in areas beyond national jurisdictions. Maybe we could develop relevant legislations to help us enhance governance in areas beyond national jurisdictions. But maybe the implementation is more difficult than legislations. And for areas beyond national jurisdictions, we will face severe challenges. So what are the available solutions for us to better protect the about 70% or more than 60% of the areas of the ocean? So I would like to hear the ideas from Mr. Pan. I think that for humans to develop on a sustainable basis, it should first provide human with a sustainable environment. The earth should be healthy and safe.
You mentioned in some areas out of jurisdiction of any nations, it's very important for international organizations like UN to adopt some international conventions to protect it. And so far, international organizations already adopted a series of conventions to protect their climate, resources, ocean, biodiversity, etc. Let me give you an example. There is a Deep Ocean Resource Management Office of United Nations, and it is in charge of protecting the deep ocean resources, and it is resources shared by the whole human society, including the mainland country and the oceanic country. So, Mr. Pan, I'm sorry that now, according to schedule, we already wrap up. We have to wrap up today's discussion, but we hear the warm applause from the audience. So maybe we should have 1 more minute discussion. So, according to the expectation of United Nations, it hoped that those countries with qualification and competence can come to explore these areas, and China also apply to explore 7.5 square kilometers areas in the deep ocean. So that means the precondition, you have to propose a proposal that covers double size of the 7.5 square kilometers, that is about 15 square kilometers, and you have to specify what kinds of minor resources might be stored in those areas. And you have to make a commitment after exploring this 15 square kilometers area. It will cut it into half, and one half will be chosen by the United Nations to be the shared resources for the whole human society, while the rest half can be explored and owned by China. So that is a very innovative new mechanism for us. Okay, I got your point. I think it's a very innovative idea, but the pity is that we have very limited time and we have to wrap up our discussion now. So I believe for many of you, we have opened a new horizon. We began to explore a new field of knowledge and expertise from zero to, say, 1 or 2. And to sum up, we see that international organizations, including United Nations, have adopted more and more conventions to protect the ocean. And that is a kind of law-binding conventions that can protect those resources in a more effective way. Well, in Chinese civilization, what we emphasize is so-called 关系, which means a relationship. And that mainly refers to the interpersonal relationship. But I think relationship also can apply to the relationship between human society and Mother Nature. If we continue to ignore the relationship between us and the Mother Nature, we will be confronted with more natural disasters, including earthquakes, storms, and wildfires, etc. Now we are in an age of science and technology. We can communicate with each other with internet technology despite the great geographic distance between us. But I think it's also time for us to pay attention to the Mother Nature, how to protect the Mother Nature. Over the past years, as a moderator, I participated in a lot of discussions about the protection of oceans. We Chinese people, we are more focused on the mainland or the mainland or the agriculture economy, but we now have to shift to the blue ocean economy. Are you ready? Let's wait to see.